Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I'm bringing you our first in a series of weapon guides, and these are going to be top 10 guides for now. I'll probably do some other types of weapon guides, but I figured I'd start with this. So we're starting with Longswords since they're kind of the predominant, best weapon in the game, at least in my opinion, just because the combat system really benefits them. So I can use any of the weapons in the game, but if I get surrounded and I have a lot of enemies, I find the Longsword is the best way to get out of it, because it's just the most effective weapon with a great combination of power, speed, reach, and damage output. So it's got the best of all of the other weapon classes. Plus, you can Master Strike with it, and the combos with it are also, in my opinion, better, and there are more of them. So like I said, Longswords, in my opinion, are the best weapons in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So, with all that being said, because that was a lot, let's dive on in. And starting us off at number 10, we have the Broad Longsword, which I have equipped here. If I turn Henry, you can see what it looks like. This one, it says a perfectly balanced longsword with a wide blade. It's the gold standard. What it lacks in speed, it makes up for in durability. So this is the level 3, the gold variant, okay? It requires 11 for the minimum strength to use, 14 for the minimum agility to use, has a stab damage of 143, slash damage of 136, and a blunt damage of 27, a defense of 246, durability of 200, weight of 2.9 pounds, and a price of 2,855.1 grosh. So, already a very, very, very good weapon. I would consider everything on this list to be very suitable end game weapons, for your main hand weapon. And like I said, this one has it all in spades. Our damage output is very, very good, making it one of the best weapons overall in the game. Defense is nice and high, so considering the most effective way to utilize a longsword in this game is going to be two-handed without a shield. You do want your defense for longswords to be nice and high. And then, like I said, durability is also nice and high. So not a lot to complain about this one. I think it looks quite good, and I can show you that outside. And so you can see Henry holding it up here. It is very wide at the base, but it's a very normal looking sword with what they call in the game a pear-shaped pommel. Plain brown handle. I think it overall looks like a very good weapon. So that's number 10. Getting this weapon is also very simple. I will do my best in this video, by the way, and future videos to show or tell you how to get each of these weapons. Some are story locked, so I can't show you that, but I can tell you about it or kind of lead you in the right direction without spoiling the game for you. This one, however, is at level 3, one that you can easily purchase in multiple locations, including from this blacksmith right here, who unfortunately is leaving the forge, so I can't even show you the store. So I'm gonna have to wait in game so I can show you that, which is really annoying. All right, so to show you where we are, just to make sure, just in case you don't recognize it, we are at the Devil's Den, which is way at the top side of the Kuttenberg map, so we're right here. There are many other people who sell it. This is just, so if you talk to the blacksmith here, you'll trade with him, and inside you'll find the Broad Longsword, which can be purchased for 1,911.1 groschen at level 3. So like I said, lots of different blacksmiths will sell this weapon, but this one is one that you'll have access to relatively early in your playthrough, and you'll probably spend a decent amount of time here, so that's why I chose to show this one. So that's number 10. Let's move on to number 9. And at number 9, we have Markvart von Aulitz's sword, which is of course tied to story progression, so I will not spoil this, but very late in the game you'll be able to find this one essentially when you come into contact with someone from whom you'll be getting the sword. I don't want to spoil the story, so obviously if you use your brain it should not be too hard to realize who you're going to get the sword from, but I'm not going to tell you how. So with all that being said, like I said, this comes in at number 9. This is the only one on the list that has low durability, but it still is usable. I've used it a decent amount. You do find yourself repairing it more often, especially if you're doing a lot of blocking, or, fighting enemies with heavy armor, because that wears your sword down faster. But in any case, it's mostly about damage output. So this one has a minimum strength requirement of 12 to use and minimum agility of 14 to use, stab damage of 145, slash damage of 138, blunt damage of 28, defense of 252, which is nice and high, durability of 48, which, as I already said, is not great, and is also the lowest durability on this list, weight of 4.9 pounds, at a price of 2,687.4 groschen. And keep in mind, this is the level 3 variant of the Markvart von Aulitz sword. In one of my playthroughs, I ended up getting a level 2 variant when I got it, so keep in mind that this will be determined by what level the sword you have. Looking at the sword on the outside, this one has a 8-sided pommel on it. Looks like a pretty plain cord-wrapped hilt. It's much darker now than it was before, with the brown leather over top of it and the upswept crossguard, so it all looks pretty good. Big, deep fuller going down the middle, so definitely a good-looking sword. Looks like something a nobleman would wear. And like I said, this one's tied to story progression, so you can't buy it anywhere in the map, at least as far as I'm aware. You have to get it from the story mission late in the story where you get it. So that's number 9. Let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we have the Battle Longsword, and now keep in mind, this is specifically the level 4 variant, so the one that Henry crafts at the highest level. And we'll get into that when I'm doing the location guide. But in any case, stats for this one are pretty solid. This one requires minimum strength of 11 to use, agility of 12, stab damage of 149, slash damage of 142, blunt damage of 50. It has a defense of 220, durability of 297, a weight of 4.5 pounds, and a price of 2,404.9 groschen. And it says a heavier long blade will last longer and won't break easily, but it must be balanced by a much larger pommel. This sword is designed for actual battle rather than a quick sword fight. So you can see that's reflected in the heavier weight of this sword. And the name Battle Longsword. So, like I said, this is the level 4 variant. The level 3 variant is quite good, but it doesn't quite make this top 10 list. Stats on this one are all pretty phenomenal. As far as what the sword looks like, you can see it here in Henry's hand. He's chopping down with it, and it looks a lot like Markvart von Aulitz's sword. It's probably the same model, because it has the same upswept crossguard, the same, like I said, leather-bound, cord-wrapped hilt, and then the same 8-sided pommel. So, pretty sure the Battle Longsword and Markvart von Aulitz's sword have the same model, but definitely looks quite good, and this one is better than Markvart von Aulitz's at level 4, because, like I said, much higher durability and then significant enough higher damage output. So quite good overall. As far as how and where to get this one, like I said, this is the level 4 variant, so you have to craft it. But that's quite straightforward and simple. We're at the Devil's Den still, and at the Devil's Den, if you go to talk to the blacksmith, there's two things. You can either buy the level 3 variant, which like I said isn't quite as good, but is still quite a good sword, or this is also one of the locations where you can buy the sketch to craft it. And once you've purchased the sketch to craft it, all you need to craft it is 1 cow skin, 1 8-sided sword pommel, 1 horned sword guard, 3 Frankfurt steel, and 3 iron. And then like I said, you obviously have to have your crafting or your smithing level high enough. Craftsmanship, that's what it's called in this game. High enough so that you can do it. And like I said, I have a smithing guide, so I'm not going to go into detail into that here. Check out that guide if you're interested in that. So that's number 8. Let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have the level 3 variant of the Guild Longsword, which is one of the fancier looking weapons that you can get your hands on in this game. It says, very bright was that sword when it was made whole again. The light of the sun shone redly in it, and the light of the moon shone cold, and its edge was hard and keen. That description, I haven't Googled this to check, but it reminds me of the description from, I want to say it was Anduril from Lord of the Rings, but it could have been one of the elven swords. I don't remember. Well, I mean, Anduril was Narsil reforged by elves, so I guess in that way it is an elven sword. But anyway, that's what that description reminds me of. I should have Googled that, but I just read that for the first time now, and it reminds me of one of the sword descriptions from Lord of the Rings. But anyway, minimum strength required to use this one is 12, agility is 15, stab damage is 150, slash damage is 143, blunt damage is 29, defense is 259, durability is 210, and weight is 2.6, with a price of 3,258.9 groschen. So like I said, definitely a very good weapon. I mean, it's made our ranking, and it's higher than several that we've covered so far, and it also looks quite fancy, which is one of the reasons I quite like it. Keep in mind, like I said, this is the level 3 variant. Now, I don't want to story the mission too much, because it's one of my favorite side missions in the game, but if you want to get your hands on this one, here's roughly how you do it. So in the city of Kuttenberg, while you're exploring, particularly right here in front of this armor shop, you'll find a German guy yelling and flapping his arms. If you talk to him, you'll find out he's a swordmaster. He wants to become the Kuttenberg swordmaster because he has this grant given to him by King Wenceslaus, who said he could do that and start a swordsman guild here, but there's already a sword guild here. So you have to do this whole shenanigans quest to basically get him to be the swordmaster in this area, and you do that through some sneaky, some steely, and then a tournament, and if you win the tournament, he will become the swordmaster. Then you have to do another mission after that, where you get this sword back because one of the previous members of the guild had taken it, and he did something to it, and it results in you having to reforge the weapon. So the quality of that will be determined by how well you reforge the weapon. You might reforge it at level 1, and the stats will be significantly worse than this. I reforged it at level 3. I was going for 4, but I you know, must have overheated the metal or something annoying. But whatever the case is, that's how you get your hands on this weapon. Because after you do that second mission and you give the sword back to the new swordmaster of the Swordsman Guild here in Kuttenberg, you come back to where my character is now, which is, you know, the Fecht Hall. It's the fighting hall, or whatever, of Kuttenberg, and you go inside, and now you're, of course, you don't have to sneak around or anything, because once you've done all the missions, you're allowed inside here because you're a member of the guild. But you go up to the second level, go into the hall, and once you've given it back to him, he'll put it up here. All you have to do is wait until he leaves the room, and you can steal it back. And then you can either just wait for the stolen status to go away, or you can just take it, sell it to a shop, and then buy it back, and it will no longer be stolen. So that's how you can get your hands on the Guild Longsword after doing all of that other stuff. So that is number 7. Let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we have the level 3 or gold variant of the Dueling Longsword. It says a perfectly balanced sword with a slender blade for true sword masters. The longsword is a noble weapon for sword fighting and a quick way to send any fool to the other side. Minimum strength used is 13, agility is 12, stab damage is 157, slash damage is 150, blunt damage is 30, defense is 272, durability is 220, weight is only 1.9 pounds, making it nice and light, and the price is 3,662.7 groschen, so definitely not a cheap weapon. One of my favorites in the game. I definitely love the Dueling Longsword. Like I said, this one is the level 3 variant. As far as what it looks like, definitely a good looking weapon, so you can see we once again have that more pear-shaped pommel style, and the hilt is still the brown leather clad cord wrapped, but you can see it's much finer. The crossguard goes out straight instead of being swept up, but it looks more unique for that. The fuller only goes down half the blade, but it's a very wide and deep fuller, and the blade itself is very long and slender. So it's a good looking longsword in my opinion, and I've used it a lot in both playthroughs that I've done so far of this game. So the Dueling Longsword is quite good and looks quite good. As far as how to get your hands on this one, again, the level 3 variant is fairly easy to get your hands on. There's quite a few locations, but just for simplicity's sake, we're back at the Devil's Den, and the blacksmith here, who is not at his forge because it appears he only works for about a half an hour every day. But in any case, man, I'm spending a lot of in-game time making this video. But you talk to him, go into trade, and you'll be able to buy the level 3 variant from him here. So like I said, for 2451.7 groschen, you'll be able to buy the level 3 variant here. And there's probably plenty of other blacksmiths that will also sell it, as well as once you get to a high enough level in the game, a lot of your high level bandits will also be carrying a level 3 variant. So it's, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, a fairly common loot drop as well. But yeah, one of the best swords in the game can be purchased right here. So that's the Dueling Longsword level 3, which is the number 6 longsword on this list. Let's move on to number 5. All right, and so at number 5, our middle of the list one, we have the level 4 or Henry's mastercrafted variant of the replica of the longsword absolver. And so this one, again, is required. You got to do a quest to get this one, but it's fairly straightforward and you can do it fairly early in the game. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But it says, a well-made replica of the sword called absolver. With a bit of luck, even an experienced eye can't tell the difference. It says, or it has a minimum strength of 10 and minimum agility of 10 to use, stab damage of 158, slash damage of 150, blunt damage of 30, defense of 233, durability of 190, weight of 2.8 pounds, any price of 2,451.4 groschen. So all pretty solid stats, nice low requirements to use this one considering the damage output. Now keep in mind it is at level 4, so you do have to actually smith this one rather well, but the good news about this is you can try as many times as you want. All you need is the materials, because unlike many of these story related things that you smith in this game, this one doesn't require any unique stuff. So you just need 1 deerskin, 1 8-sided pommel, 1 horned sword guard, 2 Frankfurt steel, and 2 iron to forge this one, so easy to get stuff. As far as what this one looks like, again, it looks a lot like the battle longsword or Markvart von Aulitz's sword. We've got that fairly wide blade with a decently deep fuller in it. This one looks a little bit different, I think, because the fuller doesn't go quite as long and it looks more squared. The guard looks similar though, and we have the 8-sided pommel, you know, cord wrapped brown leather hilt. All pretty good, pretty standard. Looks like a decent sword in my opinion. It's mostly about the stats. Well, I mean, it's entirely about the stats in this video. Now, as far as how and where to get this one, like I said, you do have to forge it, but you do learn how to forge it in a quest. And you can find the quest in Sigismund's camp in the Kuttenberg region. So you come here and you'll be looking for, I found the guy before I started this section so I could, this guy right here. He'll be the one you start the quest from. His name is Thomas of Kolin. So he is the one who wants you to make it. Basically what he wants you to do is to go and steal the original sword, the absolver, and then forge a copy for him because him and the guy who owns the absolver are apparently fighting over this sword. So that's why he wants it. So that's all you got to do. It's fairly simple and straightforward mission. Yeah, you don't want to get caught because you're in Sigismund's camp, but that's all you have to do, and then you'll be able to forge it as many times as you want. So fairly simple and straightforward and easy to do early in the game. So that is number 5. Let's move on to number 4. All right, at number 4 we have the level 3 variant of Master Menhart's Longsword. And now keep in mind, the variant of this one is also determined based on something that I'm not familiar with. Maybe it's just your combat level or your whatever compilation of levels at the time you complete the mission, but I, in one of my playthroughs, got a level 2 variant. In this one, I got a level 3 variant, so I don't know how to explain it. But it says, a longsword of the swordmaster Menhart from Frankfurt. According to his own words, he received it from his teacher the day he became a swordmaster. The weapon itself honors both the bearer and the maker. Truly a masterpiece. Minimum strength for this one's 14, agility is 17, stab damage is 164, slash damage is 157, blunt damage is 31, defense is 285, durability is 220, weight is 2.1 pounds, and the price is 5,056.2 groschen, so definitely a very expensive weapon. And I also think it looks quite good. You can see in this picture here that we've got a fairly decorative scabbard for it, but overall it looks pretty unique. So as far as what it looks like, you can see that we have a red smooth hilt for this one that's leather. Then we have our pear-shaped pommel, a straight flat crossguard, which I quite like, and a fairly basic blade. So we just have the diamond cross-section blade here, no fuller, long, thin blade, looks quite good. And like I said, the scabbard for it also looks very cool. It's got the coat of arms up top, silver cladding on top of the red leather. It overall looks very fancy, much more so than most of the swords that we have access to. Now, as far as how to get this one, again, it is story locked. So, in the Kuttenberg region, like I said before when we covered the Guild Longsword, you'll start the mission talking to Master of Frankfurt, Menhart, I forgot his name there, right here, and after doing all the missions, and establishing him as the swordmaster, he will just give you this sword. And this is what he looks like. So, Menhart von Frankfurt, that's, where you'll be able to get this weapon. And like I said, it's only at this ranking when you have the level 3 variant. The level 2 variant is obviously still quite good, but just not quite this good. So, it really depends what you get. I've never seen a level 1 variant, and since you can't craft it, obviously I've never seen a level 4 variant either. But that's Master Menhart's sword, which comes in at number 4. Let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we have the broad longsword once again, this time the level 4 mastercrafted variant. It says a perfectly balanced longsword with a wide blade is the gold standard, but it lacks in speed. It makes up for in durability. I feel like I read that already. The minimum strength to use this one is 11, agility is 14, stab damage is 166, slash damage is 158, blunt damage is 32, defense is 246, durability is 200, weight is 2.9 pounds, and the price is 2855.1 groschen. So, all fairly similar, really, really good stats. Like I said, level 4 variant. So this one, we can take a look at it quick, just in case you don't remember. That's what it looks like. So we have our pear-shaped pommel, light brown leather hilt, upswept or slightly upswept crossguard, and then a wide, deep fuller that goes 75% the length of the blade. So fairly good looking sword. So this one is a master crafted one, so you have to smith it yourself at the highest potential. As far as where to get the sketch, again, fairly straightforward and simple. We're at the Devil's Den. You go and talk to the blacksmith here, and it will be one of these sketches that he has for sale. So you can see the broad longsword sketch right here for 564.1 groschen. And then, fairly simple, straightforward materials you'll need to smith it. 1 cowskin, 1 pear-shaped sword pommel, 1 ordinary sword guard, 3 Frankfurt steel, and 2 iron. So you have to have your level high enough, and you can boost that with potions and stuff, but that is how you can get the sketch, and you just have to smith it then. So that's number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is a two-way tie between the Reforged Radzig Kobyla sword and the Henry's sword Reforged. So that's probably already too much of a spoiler, but I won't get any deeper into that, but they're the same sword essentially. This one here is the level 3 variant. I've never managed to get it to the level 4. I don't know if it's possible. It probably is. You have to do it absolutely perfectly, I imagine, and I must have screwed up a step, and you only get 1 try per playthrough, so it's better if you're about to reforge the sword, even if you have your skills maxed out and you've, managed it a bunch, I would save right before trying it so you can try a couple times if you want to try getting it to level 4, because then it would probably be the overall best longsword in the game, but as it is at level 3, it comes in at number 2. So it says, a sword forged by my father for Sir Radzig Kobyla, which was later stolen by that scoundrel Istvan Toth. So you need to get the sword back first, and in its basic state, it's already a pretty good sword, but once you've reforged it, again, it becomes the second best one in the game, at least if you get it up to level 3. If it's at level 4, probably level 1. But anyway, minimum strength of 15 to use it, minimum agility of 18, stab damage of 172, slash damage of 163, blunt damage of 33, defense of 299, which is nice and high, durability of 240, also high, weight, I mean, this says 0, but it weighs 1.9 pounds, and a price of 558.7 for the grotions, or 5,587.7. I can't believe I screwed that up so much. So very expensive as well. As far as looks, it's obviously one of the more unique and cool-looking swords in the game. You can see that we've got a very decorative crossguard hilt and pommel. They're made out of silver, I believe, and engraved very delicately. So you can see we have Radzig Kobyla's coat of arms there in the center in the middle, and then the rest of it is very cool as well. We've got these, I mean, it's iconic for Kingdom Come Deliverance. We have Martin's Master's mark on there, which is just an M, which I get a kick out of. And we got Rex Familia I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Voltio? It's probably Voltio, engraved on the blade. So very cool, very unique looking sword, and of course it's story tied, so it means a lot to Henry. So again, how to get this one? You just have to reforge it once you've gotten your hands on the sword itself. So that's all story related, and like I said, my only recommendation there is that you save before you reforge it, so you can attempt to try and get it at level 4. I forgot to do it on both of my playthroughs, and I'm still kicking myself. But that's our runner-up at number 2. Let's move on to our best one at number 1. Then finally coming in at number 1, we have the level 4 or mastercrafted variant of the Dueling Longsword. This one has a better overall damage output as far as balance goes, which is why I placed it higher than some of the other ones on this list, which have a higher single stat damage output. But with all that being said, this one has a minimum strength requirement of 13 to use, agility of 12, stab damage of 183, slash damage of 174, blunt damage of 35, defense of 272, durability of 220, weight of 1.9 pounds, and a price of 3,662.7 groschen. So all fairly simple and straightforward as far as what it looks like, just in case you don't remember. Still the same as the level 3 variant. You can see it's a handsome-looking, slender longsword, but nothing overly complex or ornate about it. Same goes for the scabbard, plain brown leather, clad with what looks like brass. Looks very good, in my opinion, but definitely nothing flashy. As far as how to get your hands on this one, like I said, it is the mastercrafted quality, so you do have to craft it. And it's a difficult weapon to craft because it's, you know, one of the best in the game, and so you have to have a really high crafting level and do it perfectly to get it right. As far as I know, there is not a blacksmith that sells the sketch for this, but you can find it. And I am not going to go into detail of that here because I already have a video on the channel showing all of the treasure locations in the Kuttenberg area, and one of them is the sketch for the Dueling Longsword. So I hope this video was useful to you. It turned out way longer than I wanted it to because I included all the locations and stuff. I might not do that for future videos just because of how cumbersome and lengthy that makes it. But with all that being said, thanks a ton for watching and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.